I am the chair of the Justice Select Committee, and my role today is, well, it's mainly to learn things like a lot of people here, and it certainly couldn't be at a more opportune time coming plumb between the introduction, publication of the Courts and Tribunals Bill and the second reading debate on that bill. One of the other major pieces of work which we're doing, and I think it's one of the longest reports that the committee has ever done, is on rehabilitation. We've completed part one of that, which is rehabilitation in prisons, and we're now just beginning really to take evidence in the second part, which will be another year's work in relation to rehabilitation on leaving custody, and clearly that's important given there will be many more people being supervised in the community. And this particular issue of recidivism amongst specific groups of people, the effect it has, whether financial, in terms of the individuals, in terms of society generally, is not a new problem, but it's one which we desperately need to find solutions for. Thank you so much for being here, and I will hand the stage to you.
Director of the Bronx Defenders, I have the privilege of leading the office that pioneered and developed holistic public defense in the United States. The Bronx Defenders was founded on a simple premise, and it understood at its inception that people, when they come into the criminal legal system, are not just facing a single issue, and that single issue is not the one thing that is front and present on their mind. A person who is entangled in the legal system may indeed have issues with housing, with immigration, with mental health, with education, with family issues. The Bronx Defenders early on decided that the one thing that needed to be front and center and part of the model was a social work team and investigators. And the beauty and the benefit of having everyone in-house and having the different experiences and expertises in-house is that I don't have to call another office down the street. I don't have to wait to see whether or not the person will talk to me. I don't have to figure out whether I think that person is doing high-level work in the first instance. I can go around the corner to someone inside my own office and I can say, hey, this person is facing this. Tell me what I need to do to preserve their rights in this instance. And if there are mental health issues or things of that nature that impact their plight, the Bronx Defenders saved the community $165 million over 10 years in incarceration cost alone. Those people who were diverted from carceral systems and were not caged for years, instead were part of their communities. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sashy Nathan. I'm one of the co-founders of Commons. The criminal justice system is not just failing because of inefficiency, and that's why we've kind of gathered everyone here today. It's failing because we've turned it into a substitute for effective social policy. And the magistrates' courts, for those of you who attend it, has become this grand clearinghouse of social harms that are unaddressed. And that's not what it was designed for. We do now have the Courts and Tribunals Bill, warts and all, and we've had some very serious analysis from Sir Brian Leveson on the deficiencies in the system. But what that analysis showed is that the engine is overheating. What it hasn't really asked is why we keep flooring the accelerator on the justice system. And the reality is that we need to reduce the number of people entering the system. That's just a fact. And we talk a lot about concentrating at the beginning of the pipeline rather than focusing on the courts and cases going into the courts themselves. And the way in which we would suggest we do this is through strategic prevention, a system that what we term prehabilitates people who are accused of criminal offences. And I think there's a lot of excellent politicians in Parliament who actually want to deliver change. And we believe it does require looking sort of towards a social justice vision of the system going forward. So thank you. Good morning.
What's really crucial for this conversation is thinking about magistrates' courts. which also have a pretty terrible backlog. The backlog in the magistrates' courts at the moment is higher than it's ever been. I think you're looking at maybe a 20% increase in magistrates' court demand. I don't think anyone really thinks that magistrates' courts are able to absorb that at the moment. So we've got to do something about that. We've got to try and keep things out of the system. We've got to try and make sure that outcomes are better when people do enter the system so that they're not coming back again and again. And the other broader factor that I want to flag is that crime has fallen quite a lot. It's hard to believe, perhaps, given some of the narratives around it, but we are in a real historic low in terms of all kinds of crime, basically. If you're looking at acquisitive crime, theft, burglary, things like that, violent crime in particular, we should be reaping dividends from that. Absolutely, we should be. And yet instead, we've got this criminal justice system that is in an incredibly difficult situation and not really working for anyone, right? It's not working for the public. It's not working for defendants and people convicted of offences. It's not working for victims. So we have to think about what we can do differently in order to try and reap the rewards of things that are going better. You're not pushing against an open door necessarily, but I also don't think you're pushing against a brick wall. So I hope that gives some optimism and enthusiasm, which people sometimes say they don't get when I speak about criminal justice.